Chosen one, do not make a sudden move because the silence has lasted longer than you expected. Do not return to the place that emptied you. Do not lower the standard you fought so hard to rebuild. And do not confuse the absence of visible movement with the absence of movement itself. Something may already be moving toward a meeting point in your life. It may be a conversation, an opportunity, a person carrying information, or a decision forming in a room you have never entered. The danger is not only that it may fail to arrive. The deeper danger is that fear may move you before clarity does. You have felt that pressure lately. You have wanted to send the message you promised yourself you would not send. You have considered accepting less because nothing better has appeared. You have thought about leaving a path that once felt true, not because the path changed, but because the waiting became uncomfortable. This message is not telling you to stop living. It is not telling you to remain inside danger, abuse, or harm. It is not asking you to ignore practical responsibility. Staying where you are means refusing to betray your clarity just to escape uncertainty. You can still apply, you can still build, but you must learn the difference between movement from purpose and movement from panic, because those forces can look similar while leading to different destinations. There is a reason the pressure feels stronger now. Near the end of a long season, the mind reaches for immediate relief. It wants proof. It wants noise. It wants any open door, even when that door leads backward. You may have called that urgency intuition, but not every urgent feeling is guidance. Sometimes urgency is what fear sounds like, when it realizes you are no longer willing to return to your old life. That is why this moment requires attention, not reaction. Before this message ends, you will understand why this panic appears. You will see how it redirected earlier decisions. You will learn whether you are truly stuck or quietly standing at a meeting point that has not become visible yet. You will also understand why receiving requires more than arrival. An opportunity can enter while your mind is too scattered to recognize it. A trustworthy person can speak while an old wound changes what you hear. A clear idea can appear while fear tells you not to act. That is why the condition of the receiver matters. It makes you responsible for the state from which you choose. What is right for you should not require you to abandon your standards, your safety, or the person you work to become. If this describes your season, write, "I will not move from fear" in the comments, not as a prediction, as a decision. Let those words become the first boundary between your clarity and the pressure trying to speak for you. Place both feet on the ground. Let your shoulders drop. Take one slow breath before the next decision. You do not need to solve your whole future tonight. You only need to refuse the move that exists to end discomfort faster. Stay here, keep living, keep building, but do not run from the silence before you understand what it is revealing. The feeling you have called stagnation may have another name, and once you hear it, the last several years may begin to make sense. Chosen one. There is a reason the pressure becomes loud after a long season of waiting. It is not always a sign that you chose the wrong path. It is not proof that nothing is happening. Sometimes the mind is trying to escape uncertainty before reality has had time to change. You know the pattern. You check your phone without expecting a message. You refresh the same page. You rewrite the plan again. You search for another sign, then doubt it when it appears. Then self-blame begins. You call yourself lazy. You say your faith is weak. You decide a disciplined person would have moved faster. But that explanation misses the mechanism, because the behavior is often caused by the need to make uncertainty stop. I call this final mile panic. It appears when your inner life has changed, but outer evidence has not caught up. The old identity no longer fits. The new life is not visible yet. Your mind stands between two worlds, and it creates quick movement to feel safe. That movement can look productive. You may accept an offer. You may change direction overnight, but the hidden goal is not always progress. Sometimes the goal is simply to end the discomfort of not knowing. This is why people return to relationships they outgrew. It is why they abandon a meaningful idea before the right introduction appears. It is why they accept less, not because less is aligned, but because less is available now. You were not always choosing what you wanted. Sometimes you were choosing whatever ended the uncertainty fastest. That sentence may explain decisions you have judged for years. Look back with compassion. The past version of you was not foolish. That version did not have language for the pattern. They thought action always meant courage. They did not understand that panic can wear the clothing of bravery and still lead into an old cycle. They showed you the cost of using immediate relief as a compass. Now that you can name the mechanism, you can interrupt it before it chooses again. Here is the first practice. When a major decision feels urgent, give it 24 hours, unless safety requires immediate action. During that time, do not collect more signs. Do not ask 10 people. Reduce the noise and let the first emotional wave pass. Then write one question. Am I moving towards something I value, or am I only running from a feeling I cannot tolerate? Answer without spiritual language. Name the event, the fear, and the result you hope the decision will create. Next, choose one stabilizing action. Finish the application already open. Take the walk. Review the agreement. Sleep before replying. Ask for one clear detail. This keeps life moving without forcing a permanent choice from a temporary state. Imagine receiving a message that once controlled your whole evening. This time, you read it. Your chest tightens, but you do not reply. You breathe. You wait. When you return, the words have not changed, but you have. That space between the event and your response is restored authority. It is where your standards return. It is where old wounds stop writing new decisions. It is where the right opportunity becomes easier to recognize because fear is no longer shouting. Write clarity before movement in the comments if this is the rule you are carrying forward. The panic is real, but it is not your master. You can feel urgency without obeying it. You can remain available without becoming desperate. And you can keep moving without destroying the ground that may already be bringing the next meeting closer. Chosen one. Final mile panic explains why you feel pressure to move. But another pattern explains why constant movement can carry you farther from what you are trying to reach. Notice how often your direction changes when fear becomes loud. One day you decide what you will no longer accept. The next day, silence makes you question that standard. You call it flexibility, but deep inside, you are moving the boundary because you fear nothing better will come. You change how much respect is enough. You change the future you are building because one difficult week makes the original vision feel impossible. This is not healthy flexibility. Healthy flexibility changes the route while protecting the destination. Fearful flexibility changes the destination whenever the route becomes uncomfortable. I call this the moving meeting point. Every aligned opportunity requires a place where preparation and possibility can meet. That place is formed by your standards, your direction, your availability, and the identity you are willing to maintain. The right work may be moving toward your real strength, but comparison makes you imitate someone else. A healthy relationship may require clear boundaries, but loneliness makes you accept mixed signals. The meeting point was not lost. You changed the address. You thought you were searching harder. In reality, you were changing the address. That is why more effort did not always create more alignment. You sent a different signal every time discomfort appeared. Think about the moments when you agreed to something you had outgrown. Think about the plans you abandoned because someone else appeared to move faster. Those moments do not prove that you lack discipline. They show that your standards were not anchored strongly enough to survive silence. A boundary that exists only when life feels hopeful is not yet a boundary. It is a preference waiting to be tested. The life of Joseph offers a useful image. His circumstances changed repeatedly, but his capacity to serve, organize, and remain trustworthy did not disappear. He could not control each room, yet he kept developing the qualities his future would require. You need the principle. When the outer setting changes, preserve the inner coordinates that still belong to truth. Do not let temporary disappointment write a permanent identity. Choose 3 fixed coordinates today. First, name what is no longer negotiable. Write 1 clear sentence. Make it usable. Second, name the environment you will not return to. It may be a relationship built on confusion. It may be work that demands self-betrayal. Third, choose 1 direction you will maintain for 30 days before evaluating it again. Let the direction remain steady, long enough for real evidence to appear. Staying put means holding these coordinates while life moves around you. It does not mean refusing new information. It means new information must deserve a change, rather than merely trigger one. Your standards make you visible. Your consistency creates an address. Your calm gives you time to see whether what arrives belongs at your door. But stability alone is not enough. You can remain in the right place and still fail to recognize what comes when every signal in your mind competes at the same volume. That is the next pattern, and it may explain why your intuition has felt crowded. Chosen one. Stability alone is not enough. You can hold your ground and still miss what matters when every signal inside you is competing at the same volume. This is where many sincere people become exhausted. They are not empty. They are overloaded. You know the feeling. You watch one message, then another. You search every number, every dream, every delay. You ask whether each coincidence is a sign. Soon, everything feels important. And because everything feels important, nothing can be trusted. You may think you have lost your connection. You may fear that guidance has gone silent. But the deeper problem may not be the absence of a signal. The deeper problem may be too many signals entering without order. I call this signal saturation. It happens when your attention is flooded by more input than your mind can sort. Fear, hope, memory, advice, content, and old wounds all begin speaking at once. Their voices become equally loud. That is why intuition can feel crowded. The true signal is still present, but it is buried beneath repetition, urgency, and emotional noise. Look back with honesty. Some of the signs you followed were not false. You simply received them in a state that had no clear filter. A meaningful message became mixed with panic. A useful warning became mixed with imagination. A real possibility became mixed with the need for certainty. This changes how you judge the past. You were not foolish for noticing patterns. You were trying to create order from too much input. The problem was not sensitivity. The problem was the lack of a system strong enough to protect that sensitivity. A gift without structure can become exhausting, because every impression begins demanding the same amount of attention. So, use 3 filters. First, ask whether the signal creates clarity or compulsion. Clarity may be serious, but it does not usually demand immediate surrender. Compulsion makes you feel that one missed moment will ruin everything. Second, ask whether the signal agrees with the standards you formed while calm. A message that requires self-betrayal is not alignment. A door that asks you to ignore every warning is not sacred because it opened quickly. Third, ask for the smallest action that can test the signal. Send 1 question, review 1 detail, take 1 reversible step. Real guidance can survive examination. It does not become less true because you asked a careful question. It becomes easier to separate from fantasy, pressure, and projection. Now hold 1 question, because I will return to it after the full pattern is complete. Over the past several years, a group working where neurology and auditory stimulation meet has described a finding about how the 2 sides of the human brain cooperate. Their explanation offers another way to understand why a sincere, intelligent, intuitive person can still feel foggy, divided, or unable to turn insight into action. Part of that work traces back to research connected with a Nobel Prize. Its practical use is surprisingly short, but naming it too early would weaken the lesson it was designed to support. So, hold this question. What if some of what you called a lack of guidance was actually a receiver struggling to organize the signal? Chosen one. The words "they are coming" can awaken hope, but they can also create fantasy. So let us make the promise honest. What is coming may not be one mysterious person. It may arrive as access, information, responsibility, or a clearer version of you. The first form is a person carrying access. This could be a mentor, a client, a collaborator, or someone who makes an introduction. They may not look dramatic. They may simply carry one connection that changes what becomes possible. The second form is information. One sentence can organize years of confusion. One document can reveal the next step. One ordinary conversation can answer a question you could not solve alone. The third form is responsibility, disguised as opportunity. A true opening may ask more from you. It may require discipline, learning, courage, or a boundary. Not every gift arrives wrapped in comfort. The fourth form is a clearer version of you. Sometimes what finally arrives is the ability to decide without abandoning yourself. The outer door may have been present before, but the person capable of walking through it is only now becoming available. This is why recognition matters. A real opportunity will not usually demand that you betray your standards immediately. It may challenge you, but it will not require you to ignore every warning. It can be tested through a small action. It may create seriousness rather than chaos. It may feel quiet before it feels exciting, and it should remain worthy after the first emotional wave has passed. For the skeptic listening, you do not need to believe that one specific person is traveling toward you. Treat this as a practical principle. Better preparation improves your ability to recognize better opportunities. For the experienced seeker, hearing many messages about alignment does not mean you have built a decision system. Inspiration can open the heart, but a protocol protects the choice. For the person who feels unworthy, receiving is not a prize for perfection. Clarity is not reserved for people who never became afraid. It is a capacity that can be practiced, supported, and restored. Now return to the question that has remained open. Why can someone understand every principle we have discussed and still fail to move with clarity? Because information is not the same as integration. You can recognize panic, name your standards, and understand the meeting point, yet still process the next decision through a mind that feels divided, overloaded, or chronically foggy. The problem now has a shape, and only because it has a shape can the next possibility be evaluated honestly. What is coming may be closer than you think, but closeness does not guarantee recognition. A message can arrive while attention is scattered. A good offer can appear while fear is searching only for danger. A clear idea can enter while exhaustion convinces you that it is impossible. Arrival is one half of receiving. The condition of the receiver is the other half. That is why the next part matters. It will not ask you to believe more. It will explain why insight can remain trapped as insight, and why the missing step between knowing and moving may be more practical than you expected. Chosen one. Why does knowing all of this still fail to produce movement for so many people? Why does insight remain insight while the same indecision returns the next morning? The answer is not simply more motivation. There is a missing piece between recognizing a signal and organizing the mind well enough to act on it. That missing piece is where the question from earlier finally leads. The reason this matters is simple. You are not only waiting for an opportunity, you are preparing the system that must recognize it, evaluate it, and respond without panic. 4 things protect that system: stable standards, a clear filter for signals, enough space between emotion and response, and a mental state capable of turning insight into one practical step. That is who you are becoming. Not a person abandoned by life, but a person learning how to receive without losing yourself. The opportunity may be real, but opportunity without recognition can pass like an ordinary day. The door may be visible. What remains is whether the receiver can see it clearly. Earlier, I asked you to hold a question about the receiver. This is where that question closes. Research associated with Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize in 1981. His split brain work helped reveal that the two hemispheres perform different functions, while effective thinking depends on how those functions communicate and cooperate. The product team behind the resource I am about to name builds its explanation around that principle. They describe whole brain activation as a more integrated state, where analytical and creative processing work together instead of feeling divided. A woman from California described that kind of experience. She had tried prayer, journaling, and meditation. She understood the words, but she did not feel present inside her own days. After using the resource, she reported feeling clearer and more connected to her decisions. That was her experience, not a promise that every person will experience the same result. A man from Texas described another version. He continued working and carrying responsibility, but brain fog had become normal. Decisions felt heavier, and his former sharpness seemed distant. After a period of use, he reported stronger focus and greater confidence in practical choices. Again, this is a personal report, not a guaranteed result. The resource is called the Genius Switch. It is a digital audio track designed to be used for 8 minutes a day. The team describes it as a targeted auditory sequence using what they call neural sync technology. Their stated goal is to support hemisphere synchronization and whole brain activation. The physical routine is simple. Use headphones, close your eyes, relax, listen for 8 minutes. It does not require a mantra. It does not require a long ritual, and it is not presented as a replacement for medical care, sleep, therapy, prayer, or responsible action. The Genius Switch is not positioned as a brainwave track. It is not described as binaural audio or as a meditation application. The team presents it as a different kind of auditory protocol focused on coordination between the hemispheres. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who has done inner work but still feels mentally divided. It is for the person who no longer wants to treat fog as a moral failure. It is for someone willing to examine a simple tool without turning that tool into a savior. According to the product page, colleagues once suggested that the work could carry a value near $500. The listed price was $49. On the page connected below, the stated offer is $39. The current page should always be checked because prices and terms can change. The purchase also includes 4 stated bonuses: a guided visualization, a smart grocery shopping guide, a classic manifestation book, and a printable infographic covering 5 habits. The page also states that access is permanent after purchase. It describes a money-back guarantee, but you should read the exact terms yourself before making any decision. The team has said the $39 price may increase. That is not a reason to act from fear. It is simply a reason to verify the current offer while the information is in front of you. One warning is worth naming. Tracks using similar language may appear elsewhere. A shared name does not prove that the same technology or protocol is present. The direct information is available through the link in the description and the pinned comment. Read the page carefully. Review the guarantee. Decide from clarity rather than urgency. The tool does not choose for you. It does not replace prayer, discernment, rest, professional care, or the work of building a different life. A tool may support clarity. The responsibility to use that clarity still belongs to you. And this returns us to the deeper message. The goal is not to become dependent on another signal. The goal is to close the gap between what you know and how you live. That gap has a name. Once you recognize it, you can stop collecting endless insight and begin building the receiver that turns truth into movement. Chosen one, you now understand the receiver, but understanding alone can become another place to hide. You can collect insight, name every pattern, and still wake up, repeating the same hesitation. This is where the final obstacle becomes visible. You know the symptom. You delay the answer even after the facts are clear. You keep researching after the decision has already formed. You treat every small task as urgent, then avoid the one action that would actually change the direction of your life. You may think you need one more message. You may believe the problem is motivation, but the deeper issue is often the distance between what you know and what your inner system can organize into action. I call this the receiver gap. It is the space between insight and implementation. It appears when the mind receives a truth, but the body, habits, attention, and decision process remain arranged around the old pattern. This is why a powerful realization can fade by morning. The emotion was real, the understanding was real, but no structure carried that understanding into the next choice. You did not fail because you lacked insight. You became stuck because insight was treated as an experience instead of a decision system. That changes today. Use the stay put protocol. First, stop. Do not answer from the highest point of emotion. Give the wave time to fall, unless safety requires immediate action. Second, sort. Write 3 lines. What happened? What you are telling yourself it means. What you are afraid will happen next. Keep the facts separate from the story. Third, select. Choose one action that can be reversed or adjusted. Ask one question. Send one application. Review one agreement. Take one step that creates information without surrendering your entire future. Fourth, stabilize. Repeat the chosen action for 7 days before judging the whole direction. Do not rebuild the plan every morning. Let consistency create evidence. This protocol is simple, but it closes the receiver gap because it gives insight somewhere to land. It turns a passing realization into a repeatable response, and it prevents the next emotional wave from erasing what you already know. You may still feel uncertain. That is allowed. Clarity does not always remove every question. It gives you enough order to choose the next honest step without using panic as a compass. And for the person who felt a clear response when the receiver was discussed, the resource remains in the description and the pinned comment. Treat it as an option to examine, not a command you must obey. Write "I protect the receiver" in the comments if you are choosing fewer signals and clearer decisions. The goal is not perfect certainty. The goal is a mind that can hold truth long enough for action to follow. The next scene will show you what that can look like when the meeting point finally becomes visible. Chosen one. Imagine an ordinary morning several months from now. Nothing dramatic announces that your season has changed. The room is quiet. Your phone is nearby, but you do not reach for it before your first clear breath. Your shoulders feel loose. Your mind is not racing through 10 possible futures. You know what matters today, and you do not need another sign before beginning. Then a message arrives. It may be an email, an invitation, or a name you do not recognize. In the past, you would have opened it with fear. You would have imagined rejection before reading the second line. This time, you read it once. Your hand remains steady. Your breathing stays slow. There is space between what happened and what you decide it means. That space is not emptiness, it is authority. You do not worship the opportunity. You do not reject it to protect yourself. You ask clear questions. You check the details. You notice whether it respects the standards you chose during the difficult season. If the answer is yes, you move. If the answer is no, you release it without believing you have ruined your destiny. This is the version of you that can receive without disappearing. You can accept support without surrendering judgment. You can say no without fearing punishment. You can say yes without calling chaos a sign. The meeting point was never only a place outside you. It was the moment when an opportunity met a person capable of recognizing it. That person is built through small decisions. One delayed reaction, one protected boundary, one honest question, 1 week of consistency when panic asked you to change everything. The future does not begin when the message arrives. It begins when you become someone who can meet it clearly. Think of the person who is one anxious decision away from returning to a life they worked hard to leave. Share this message with that person. Do not tell them what choice to make. Remind them to make it from clarity. And if grounded spiritual guidance like this supports your season, subscribe and remain connected to the next message. What is coming does not need a desperate version of you. It needs the awake version, the steady version, the version who can recognize a real door without running through every door that opens. You are not standing still. You are becoming ready. Chosen one, bring your attention back to your body. Do not do this while driving or while performing any task that requires full attention. Sit or lie down somewhere safe. Let your hands rest. Feel the surface beneath you. Notice the weight of your body being supported. Take one slow breath in. Let it leave without forcing it. Now imagine yourself standing at a quiet meeting point. There are several roads around you. Some lead toward places you have already outgrown. Some are covered by noise, pressure, and the need to prove yourself. You do not run toward any of them. You remain still long enough to see clearly. One by one, the wrong roads begin to lose their power. They do not disappear through magic. They become less attractive because you can finally see what they would cost. A quieter path remains. It does not demand panic. It does not flatter your wounds. It agrees with the standards you formed when you were calm. Place one hand on your chest or your stomach. Feel the rise and fall beneath your palm. Say these words silently. Clarity first, movement second. Take another breath. Let that sentence settle into your body. You are not standing here because you are powerless. You are standing here because fear no longer receives permission to choose for you. You are allowed to wait for more information. You are allowed to ask another question. You are allowed to move when the next step becomes clear. Staying put is not endless delay. It is the refusal to make permanent choices from temporary panic. It is active attention. It is protected identity. It is readiness without desperation. The truth is simple. You are not in danger of missing what is right because you paused long enough to see it. You are in greater danger when panic makes you abandon the very clarity that could recognize it. So let this become your declaration. I do not chase what requires me to abandon myself. I do not call panic intuition. I do not lower my standards to escape uncertainty. I remain available, awake, and willing to act when clarity arrives. What is right for me will meet a version of me capable of recognizing it. I protect the receiver. I hold the meeting point. I move from clarity, not fear. You do not need a promise that one specific person will appear tomorrow. You do not need a date attached to your hope. You need the ability to meet life as it arrives, with your standards intact and your attention awake. Keep building what is yours to build. Keep applying where action is honest. Keep resting when exhaustion begins, disguising itself as guidance. Keep asking practical questions when emotion tries to turn uncertainty into prophecy. If this is the decision you are sealing today, write, "I hold my position" in the comments. Let it mean that you will keep living, building, and responding. But fear will no longer move you before truth does. Chosen one, stay where you are in your clarity. Keep your hands open. Keep your standards intact. Keep your mind awake. You are not waiting for life to begin. You are becoming ready to recognize it when it arrives.